And away we go. It is the nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken right here on BearcatJournal.com, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Go to the website. They will deliver right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop, or Wednesday through Sunday, lunch and dinner would be great. If you're hanging out watching some NFL tomorrow, go down, get you some Galactic Fried Chicken, bring it home. Boom. Family dinner taken care of on a Sunday night that you're watching football. There you go. I just took care of it for you. All you have to do to save 15% is tell them to pump it up, and they will get you taken care of. Hi, Aaron.
Yo.
I'm tired.
Well, I am wide awake after that.
Cincinnati 68, UCF 57. Maybe the dunk of the year tonight. Maybe the pass of the year tonight. A lot of good stuff to discuss. Let's get your thoughts.
Holding this UCF team to 18 points in the second half, being down 12 to somehow win by 11. I had no idea what the hell I was watching, but it was full of everything. I laughed, I cried, I was mad. There was a gamut of emotions. I hope that if you are out there and you are of the betting persuasion, that you found all sorts of fun lines to hit in that first half and made out like a bandit as I did.
I'm happy for you. What plays did you make?
I took all sorts of spreads. I hit 5 different bets in the first half, including at halftime when they were down 12, and took money line on that, and just lots of fun hits there when they're being. I think it started -7, and then I caught them at like -2.5, -3.5, +1.5. Like just easy money tonight. I sweat quite a bit, but easy money tonight.
I'm not one to generally get overly frustrated during games. That was about as frustrated as I can remember in a while at halftime.
Yeah, when you can't make a shot, you're I don't know, and we saw again a team that has allowed a guy who averaged 3.5 points. I think he had 21 points total in Big 12 play. I think I saw somewhere to go off. Marcellus Avery had himself a game, and it still wasn't.
So enough. At one point, Aaron, this is a wild stat. This tells you how much the game flipped. At one point, Avery, in like the early middle of the second half, I think there was might have been the under 12 timeout. He had played 22 minutes and he was +29. That's
because Cincinnati scored 15 quickly and then didn't know what the ball was.
Yeah. But guess what he ended up at?
Well, that's not a fair thing to ask because I have the stats pulled up in front of me.
+7.
Go ahead.
+7. A 22-point swing in his plus-minus over the final 12 minutes of the game. Yeah, it was. I mean, you come out and you throw the first, you throw a haymaker. You score 13 points, in the first 2.5 minutes, but just boom on a top 10, top 5 level defense. You come out and you hit them right in the mouth. And then you score 12 the rest of the half?
They fell asleep at the wheel. It was crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
You talk about those plus-minus stats, and you did have at one point a rotation that included both Josh Reed and Jameel Reynolds, and both of them ended up with -20 and -15. Not a great night for either of them in the few minutes that both of them played.
I love Josh. But if Josh is going to maintain his place in the rotation, he's got to shoot. I think I counted 3 times tonight where the ball came his way and the defense was out of position and he had a wide open shot and he wasn't even looking to shoot. Like, he wasn't hands out, feet, like, he wasn't ready to, he just caught it to move it. And especially on a night, so Vic Locken didn't play, sick.
Sure.
There's an illness going through the team. If you're going to have Aziz on the floor, you're not running offense for Aziz. He's going to get you, he's going to be great rebounding. He's going to block shots. He's going to be a factor because teams have to account for his presence, but you're not running offense for Aziz. You can't have another guy that's just not looking to score. Like, I know part of Josh's role that he has carved out is as like that secondary defensive guy. And I'm going to get to something on that here as we go through this show. But you have to be able to be a threat, to make the defense respect that you're on the floor. And right now, he's just trying to be a mover. Paul, I disagree 1,000% there. Well, okay, I didn't read
Finish your
part.
point. We'll get to Paul's comment. Finish your point.
But Josh has got to be ready to be more than just like to Paul. I do want, but I want to touch on Paul's point because I think this like adds to what I'm trying to say. Said Simas has the same problem. He's often not ready to shoot, but he was an elite passer tonight. Simas isn't playing hot potato with the ball. I do agree there are times I wish he was a little more shot ready, but at least he's looking to dribble. He's looking to make a play and put pressure on the defense. Josh right now is not doing that. Like, he is just moving the ball. And he's got to get back into that, like, looking for his shot, being shot ready, being able to like make a defense respect that he's on the floor. Because especially like you're playing and you know, we went through the number of great defenses in this league the other night, Thursday night. If you're going to let a great defense play 3-on-5, you're not going to score. You're not going to score. You're not. And that's a lot of what we saw in the first half. You know, Jamil, I don't know what to think about him right now. I genuinely don't.
It's strange, right? Because we've seen the athletic ability. We've seen him be able to do things, but defensively, he's not there a ton. I don't feel like I see his arms even in the air very often unless he's in the post.
Like, he's just wanting to crash into people. Like, he's not playing sound fundamental defense. He's not playing sound fundamental offense. He you know, he had that the play today where he spun baseline, dribbled it right off his foot out of bounds. He had another one tonight where all he had to do was go middle. There was nobody there. Go middle and put the ball in the front of the rim. And instead, he contorts himself and ends up baseline, like trying to throw a little baby hook over a 6'11" guy. Attack. Like, what are we doing? You know, with that little.
That was the issue I had with the entire first half, and that kind of piggybacks on both your points as far as Josh and Jamil go. But this team was not aggressive, and the second half, they were definitely aggressive, and they came out of halftime with their hair on fire, and it showed in the final score.
But, well, here's the thing, Aaron. Everybody wants to talk about shortening the bench, right? Mm-hmm. Basically, they played 5 guys in the second half, and that was it. Jizzle did play 5 minutes, and Odie We're going to give Odie his flowers.
Man.
For look, it's one of the reasons I love Odie is Odie's not going to pout.
He gives you everything he has.
He hasn't. Look, has he had a rough go of it in Big 12 play when he's been on the floor? Yes. Did he see his minutes get eliminated? But didn't we go through the same damn thing with Odie last year?
It's the same story, different year. It's strange, very strange, and at the same time,
always ready. He's always ready, Aaron.
You talk about not knowing what's going on with Jamil and being frustrated with Jamil. We saw Jamil's minutes evaporate in the second half, and Odie got some play.
And Odie made the most of it. That block was big time.
Huge.
Big time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was one of the emotional sparks that I think really kind of turned the tide of the game. He got a nice, a great pass and pump fake, one dribble dunk. Happy for Odie, man. Happy for Odie.
Thanks for the donation, Sam.
Do we think Odie should start taking Millie's minutes? I'm not at that point yet, but it's always nice to know. And today was a little different because Vic was out. And so you had to go a little bit deeper into the bench than you normally would because Vic's going to play 26, 27, 28 minutes. So it changed a lot. But, if Jamil is going to play like he did tonight, then yeah, Odie's going to eat away at some of his minutes because Odie's earned that. He has earned the knowledge that no matter how bad things are going for Odie, he is going to bust his ass. He's going to practice hard every day. And when 33, he's going to be ready. He might not play well, but he's going to be ready. And that's an important thing to have on a team from your 10th guy, 11th guy, whatever.
Well, and we saw UCF. They had some issues as far as guys being out as well. I think they were missing two guys
out. Yeah.
And then you essentially took out Ibrahima Diallo throughout the game. He played 5 minutes, fouled out in those 5 minutes.
It was impressive how quickly. I mean, he had 2 fouls in that first 2.5 minute stretch. He went to the bench. He barely came back in the first half. I think he played 4 minutes in the first half. He got his 3rd foul immediately at the start of the second half. Johnny Dawkins decides, I'm going to ride with my guy. He got his 4th foul immediately after that. And then they finally bring him back in at the end, like stretch run. Okay, we're going to get our guy back on the floor. John Newman hung that 5th on him. John Newman came like a bat out of hell on that offensive rebound. And the only thing Diallo could do was foul him.
That was the craziest thing, though, in the first half when he was in. That was when they were most aggressive.
Yeah.
And he's a giant human down low. And that's when they're deciding to be most aggressive.
And leads the Big 12 in block shots. 2.1.
Then they take him out in the first half and they decide, you know what, we're gonna let off the gas a little bit. What the hell are we doing?
Trevor, thank you. Brad Chendall didn't make an appearance tonight. That's a long drive from Topeka.
The announcers on the broadcast actually gave a nod to this team is not in a funk, according to the coach.
I actually joked with Wes after the game that I was gonna just for fun, but I didn't know what react. I was gonna say, did it feel like this team came out of a funk in the second half? But sometimes it's best not to poke the bear.
Yeah. Leave well enough alone.
But then after the game, like as Wes was getting ready, I did joke. I said, that now is known as the F word in our content production. Like you can't say the F word. And we say fuck all the time. We don't say funk. Yeah, we don't say funk. That's the F word. We don't say that anymore. Daniel, it's birthday Dan. Birthday Dan is what we're going with today. This stuff is a lot more fun after wins. I can tell you that. Doing this is a lot more fun. All right, Aaron. We've done 15 minutes. We got 100 people in the room. I'm going to say something for these 100 people in the room.
Okay.
John Newman is having an all-time memorable Bearcat season for an individual. Keegan asked me today at one point, as they had kind of taken control, like down the stretch, and he said, "Who do you think is the second best player on this team?" And that is the exact right question to ask, because the best player on this team is not in question. Is not in question. John Newman is the best player on this team.
He is.
Period. Point blank. End of funkin' story.
He is. He gives you everything on both ways. There's nobody else on this roster that can do what he can do defensively in any round.
And
he found the offense.
Bringing it on offense.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Dan's been electric.
Dan is. That was my answer to Keegan. Dan is the second best player on this team.
Mm-hmm.
John Newman, God bless him.
Look,
he is everything this fan base ever talks about wanting in a player, Aaron. Everything.
He is gritty. He is tough. He is unafraid of any moment.
Yeah. Give me their dude. And guess what? If another dude steps up, I'll go shut his ass down too.
He is a dunker. Lots of us like that.
He can bang a three when necessary.
He's been afraid of the three, I feel like, the last several games. But
I think he's trying not to take bad ones.
I'm all for somebody being a slasher and not being afraid of getting the guy in trouble, foul trouble down low. Even if, look, he's had some opportunities and not always come through at the free throw line. We already know that. We've been through that. That said, he does have
gritty, tough, big dunker, air balls, free throws, weird hair. You're right. He's perfect. I love him. John Newman looking like Tony Bobbitt with his dunks. I'm so happy for John, because I talked to, like, one of the things people don't realize is, when a guy is out, he's usually just standing around. Like, for a whole season, John was just hanging around. What does that mean? What am I usually doing, Aaron? Just hanging around, just standing there.
Never met a stranger.
Right. So John, like, you end up having a bunch of conversations, and like, in the beginning, you could tell, like, he felt like he was ready to have a huge senior year last year. And I'll say it right now. That team last year makes the tournament if John Newman was healthy. John Newman alongside Dave and Landers, that's a tournament team.
But if John Newman is healthy last year, I'm not sure this
team is
eligible. He's not eligible to play this year.
He was done. He had 2 years to play one, and this is it. So I wish there was a way. You know how, like, on one of the cool things to do now in music is, like, to isolate tracks. Like, here is this legendary guitar track with all the other stuff. No drums.
Yeah.
No bass, no nothing. I wish you could just isolate, and I'm sure there's some way to do this. I wish you could just isolate John Newman on the floor for people to really get a feel for why he's so good. Like, I think I'm gonna have Lepore this week. I think, like we've talked about it already.
Have Lepore take all the other people off the court and have him get with ESPN and find out the software they use to do that.
But I do think we're gonna player spotlight John this week because I think it's necessary for people to understand watching him fight over screens, watching him just dig in. Like, look, I'm gonna give a ton of credit to Jalen Sellers tonight because John Newman made his life hell and he hit tough shots, man. Like 15-footers would like pull up 15-footers with John Newman's hand like this, and he was banging them in. Like that's going to be what, like, if those are the shots you're going to take a pull up 15-footer with John Newman's hand like in your eye. Okay. Like tip your cap. That's just a hell of a shot. And Sellers did that, especially in the first half, a lot, man. It was like, damn, this dude right now, like at one point, I think he was, how did he end up? Well, that tells a lot of the story. At one point, he was 7 for 10, and I think he had 17 points, and hit both of his threes. And John had played great defense on him. But then, guess what? Starts fatiguing, Aaron. Start getting a little worn down. That guy has been pounding you the entire game, and he missed his last 4 shots. And that allowed UC to pull away. Like, that's the John Newman effect. And I think a lot of this community has done a good job appreciating John. I think we need to talk about it more.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie.
Well, you and I, in our very brief pregame before this show, we talked about the fact that no one nationally is really talking about John Newman. I think I've seen, I don't even know that Rothstein's put anything out on him. I know Rothstein talked about Dan Skillings tonight, but I don't know that anybody's really talking about John Newman outside of Cincinnati. And even inside of Cincinnati, I don't know that enough people are talking enough about the John Newman effect on this team. I can't imagine what this team looks like without John Newman, truthfully. I mean, of course you get somebody else on the roster, but he's quintessential in passing down at this point in time, passing down what it is to be a Bearcat to the rest of this roster. And I think it's going to have a lasting effect.
I agree. I'll say the name. It's why I loved Rashad Bishop, because I thought Rashad Bishop set the tone for years following him that this is what it is. This is what it's about. This is what being a Bearcat is about. Being tough, being physical, not backing down from anyone. You want me to guard the best player on the floor? Great. I'll shut him down. And if somebody else goes off, I'll shut his ass down too. Like, that's what it's about.
Side note, I've been harsh on Day-Day. We both know that. But when John got into a little bit of foul trouble tonight, they switched off Day-Day on Sellers, and Day-Day did well as well. So yeah. I did want to make sure that was mentioned.
It's a great question, John. Who was better offensively, Bishop or Newman? Bishop was much better at knocking down an open rhythm shot from the perimeter. Newman as a slasher to the rim is really good. Really, really good. And Rashad had some of that. I don't think Rashad was as good off the bounce as John can be at times. And I also think John is a little better in transition, getting out into space and making plays than Rashad was. But I don't have anybody like from the Mick era on. The only comparison I have for Newman is Bishop. Titus was also, but Titus offensively didn't have what these two have.
I know people talk about Rayvon and him redshirting and all of that. I want to go back to the point that I made about John. Imagine we know the effect that John is having on Rayvon, that he is having on, we've seen the effect that he's having on Josh Reed. I think, going to experience the effect on guys like Day, on guys like Jizzle. I mean,
Yep.
the list is lengthy on this roster of guys that shit. I mean, even Odie. You could probably argue that Odie is who he is. Watching John do what he's doing, they came in at the same time,
right?
I believe,
They did.
and yeah, and so they kind of grew up on this roster together, and Odie's seen John go through the rehab process that he's had to go through and the injuries that he's had to deal with and battle through to get to this point. Well, while John has had to watch Odie go through the same thing, battling through things, but his was battling through getting the minutes on the roster.
John Newman's a great human being. He made time to talk to me last season when he was watching a women's game. He is a great human being, the nicest guy. So I don't think I've ever told this story, Aaron. When it became evident that he was going to have surgery last year, there was kind of, because the COVID thing screwed everything up, right? There was kind of an internal belief that was probably the end for him. Like 5 to play 5, And then we were standing there one day at practice, or before practice, and I started doing the math. And I'm like, John, if you can't come back, I think you have another year. And we talked out like, okay, this year, red shirt, COVID. Yeah, like if you're not able to come back this year, I think you had pretty sure you have another year. And initially he was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if I'm ready to do year 6. I don't know if I'm ready to run it back for year 6. But then each time you talk to him after that, you could see it was like, I mean, if I can get healthy, if I can, good things are happening. Things are moving in the right direction. And, that's how ultimately it played out. But I know I can tell you 100% initially, I was the one that I think for the first time said to him, pretty sure you got another year, bro. I'm pretty sure if my math is right, you could run it back one more time if you don't play this year. And he wasn't gung ho about it.
Well, I mean, at the beginning of the rehab process,
you're still frustrated with the injury. Yeah. You haven't surged. Nah, man, I ain't no, I'm done with college. I've done this shit long enough. I'm out of here.
At that point, he'd already been through the rehab process in college. That was his 3rd time?
Pretty much, yeah, on the same knee, all issues with the same knee. Does Newman have similarities to Pete Michaels' game? A little bit, Jeff. Pete was bigger bodied, though, right? From what I remember of watching Pete play, bigger in the shoulders, more physical. John is is wiry strong. Fair, Aaron? You think that is that a fair description? The way he wiggles through, wiggles over screens and stays in front of his guy.
I don't know. I don't want to say wiry strong because he might have for his frame, the broadest shoulders of anybody on the team.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the guns. He's not Rashad was yoked. I thought Pete, upper body, chest, arms. Pete was a big, strong, grown-ass man looking dude.
So
John is
Are we talking about the same John?
Yeah. Well, John, so John is definitely muscular and toned, but I don't think he's like broad, if that makes sense. Pete, I thought Pete looked like a football player, kind of the way he was built. John looks like a basketball player.
He looks like a swimmer.
Kind of, yeah. That's why I said the wiry, watching him work over top of screens and watching him.
Also, put any of these guys in baggy jersey and shorts, and maybe they look a little different. Instead, they're wearing things that look painted on. Shorts that come up to their nuts. It's weird.
I don't think I'm describing what I'm saying well, John. like, if you look at their measurables, yeah, I'm sure John was just as big. Like, I'm sure they're very close. But it feels like Newman is a little bit like more lengthy, where Pete was like, I don't know. I just always remember Pete looking like a guy that would like knock your ass out, if that's fair.
I think John would too.
You make 6 years in college is rough. I spent 7 wonderful years at UC earning my 4-year degree. Congratulations, Jacob. One of these days, I'll introduce you to a friend of mine named Dave Simone that had a similar plan at the University of Tennessee. Who's gone after this year? John and Odie are the only 2 guys that don't have the option to come back next year. They have both exhausted their eligibility. They've played. There's no chance for a medical. There's no chance for, like, they've used, like, everything is maxed out with those 2. Everybody else has the potential for an extra year if they so desire.
Never say never. There's been weird things happening this year with people getting 7th, 8th years of eligibility.
No, there's nothing weird about any of those. Those were all very documented.
Blah.
Aaron doesn't like facts.
It's weird.
Aaron likes opinions over facts.
Yeah. who doesn't? Especially after a win.
But look, man, like, I just really, really enjoy it. And I find myself, Aaron, I know it's bad because I'm supposed to be like watching everything. I will find myself at times just watching John. You know, the only other person I've really ever done that with? Jason Kelsey playing center. Like, I would just find I don't even, and some of that is probably because I don't really care about the Eagles all that much. So when I watch the Eagles, I just watch Jason. And we could get to the end of an Eagles game that I watched all 60 minutes of the game, and I really couldn't tell you shit about the game because I just watched Jason maul people from the center position the entire time.
Sounds about right.
What else do you want to get to?
They did 21 on his 21st.
Yeah,
not a bad day.
Get that man some Cincy Light.
7 rebounds to go along with it. He did some damn things through the game where he, just tries to do an turnover pass.
Like, they take the lead and he just bricks, the brain completely empties on an outlet pass. Like, what? Come on, man. Not there. Not there.
And he even admitted in the post game that he had a couple threes in a layup that he wanted back. He didn't like the looks that he had, and he felt he forced them. And I was probably yelling at all 3 of those shots at the TV, along with
Aaron,
pass. But you take the good with the bad with him.
They are becoming less frequent, is what I think I would say.
There's still about 3 or 4 head scratching moments a game. I'd like to get that down to 1 or 2.
Sure.
And I know that that's me being incredibly selfish. But yeah,
he's getting there step by step. Well, and the impressive thing is he is doing what we all believe to be his ceiling, and that's rising to the occasion against elite level Big 12 teams and being a primary cog. CJ has another year. John, I will say it again. The only 2 people who exhaust their eligibility at the end of this year are John Newman and Odie Oguama. Everybody else has the option for another year. Russ, Miami has a tight end that's in his 9th year. How that works is he has missed a crap ton of seasons, not like games, seasons due to injury. That's how that works. That's how that happens. And then you throw in COVID, and all of a sudden, you're 25.
Plus, if you play less than 4 games, it doesn't count as a whole season in college football anyway, even though there's only...
I think that only works one time, like your redshirt year, Once you burn that, then that's gone. And if you play, then that's the season. How do we feel about CJ playing on Wednesday? Not going to happen. Imagine if we had Dave DeJulius. I love Dave. And it would be nice to have. The interesting thing would be if they had Dave, especially now with CJ being out for as long as has been. You could play Dave off the ball, which I think would have benefited Dave.
See, I don't
like this particular team.
I don't like to imagine, because it takes me down a bad rabbit hole, because then I start imagining having an alpha like a Landers or a Jaron on this team or something of that nature, or a Trey. Anyway,
I think Landers would have been obviously fun on this team because of he can shoot 45% from three pretty consistently.
Teams like this make me imagine, what if we had put an actual team around David DeJulius?
Yeah. Well, teams like this, Aaron, make you realize that last year with a healthy John Newman, they probably would have put a team like this around David DeJulius.
Yeah.
But Michael says, I just want to shout out Dan and John in the post-game presser. Cool, and your two best players are really smart, thoughtful dudes. I have to think that's part of both of their successes. Absolutely. Those are two great guys. Great guys. I love getting them in press conferences because you're going to get good stuff.
They love this team. They love this school. They love everything that is the University of Cincinnati.
They're about the right things. They like the work. Like for me, that's when you've got to when they're as talented as those two dudes are, and they like doing the work. That's when you're at that intersection of these are guys that the fan base is going to love. And let's see.
Only 4 bench points today from Odie.
Well,
when
only
you are
10, 20, 30, 6, 7, 8. Only 38 bench minutes from this team today. Everybody wanted the rotation shortened. There you go.
4 points in 38 minutes is wild, though, especially in a game without Vic. I was a little surprised by that. Even without Vic, though, they were able to out-rebound UCF by 10.
You get 4 bench points. Aaron, how much money would you have lost on a bet that Odi Oguama would score all of the bench points for Cincinnati tonight?
All of the money. But the odds would have been really good on it, so I might have thrown $1.
Well, guess what? You'd have bet everything you had on UCF money line if I'd have told you the only bench points Cincinnati gets tonight are from Odi Oguama.
Probably, but I don't I feel like Pete Rose. I don't bet against the Bearcats, even when I know it's not. I just won't bet if I don't feel good about it. I just don't bet.
Great point, Joe. Plus 13 in the Big 12. They're 3 and 4.
Crazy.
They're plus 13 in the Big 12.
The 3-point struggles continue as the team goes 3 of 14. Dan had 2 of them. Simas 1 for 3 tonight. He didn't try and go for 7 or 9 or.
Yeah, they didn't shoot him, and
they shouldn't now.
They hit 2 threes in the first 2 minutes, and they made 1 the rest of the game. And we're not talking about it because they didn't just keep firing away. They played downhill in attack mode against UCF most of this game.
Yeah, well, when you can't make a 3 to save your life, why continue to shoot them?
There was one point, I think, it was under 6 minutes left. And no, it was the under 8 timeout. I remember this because I was looking at the numbers. One of the, you start looking at stats during TV timeouts or, during timeouts just in general to Okay, what are the things that we're going to talk about going to be? And at that point in time, there was only 6. They had played like 14 minutes, 13 minutes. There's only 6 threes taken in the entire half between both teams. UCF had taken 3, Cincinnati had taken 3. I was like, damn, in today's college basketball, to go through most of a half and only have 6 attempted threes was impressive.
Yeah, well, I'm okay with them not shooting a ton of threes going forward because they can't make them right now.
Yeah. Look, you know me, I will argue to the death about the 3-point shot. But if you're going to shoot 17%, the math doesn't math, Aaron. The reason I argue it when they're shooting 37% is because the math says to shoot more of them. When they're shooting 20%, the math says don't shoot the damn 3 unless you're wide open.
Free throws continue to be a little bit of a bugaboo for this team, although today most of them were Aziz. And I'm not gonna kill Aziz. I'm not gonna kill Aziz for going 2 of 6.
Except John and Seamas both missing the front end of a 1-on-1, which
those
at the time
those hurt.
Felt important because it was a close game when both of those were missed. And then Cincinnati hit an extra gear and was able to pull away. Those 2 guys, you got to make the front end of a 1-on-1. You got to at least you're not a great free throw shooting team. This is not going to be a great free throw shooting team. I'm not going to burden them with the expectation that they're going to be a great free throw shooting team. But if you're in a close game in this league and you expect to win, you can't miss the front end of 2 1-on-1s in the second half of a close game.
You can't airball a free throw.
It's not great. Well, here's why you can't airball a free throw, Aaron. Because they got 2 offensive rebounds on missed free throws. If you hit the rim, you give yourself a chance to go get it. If you don't hit the rim, the ref blows his whistle and hands the ball to the other team. There was a question somewhere earlier about the officials. That was not a good crew. They did not have a good night. I did not think that crew had a good night, Kevin. So
I think what we're starting to see, though, in the Big 12 crews that we've seen, I'm not going to be blame the ref guy. I don't think that it's been that bad that we're going to have to blame somebody. I think that oftentimes
I just want them to be consistent. I just want them to
that's the issue. That's the issue. It's not that they're costing anybody any games, I don't think. I say that because we can pinpoint you've missed too many shots, you've missed too many free throws. We can pinpoint why Cincinnati's lost the games that they've lost, especially when they're as close as they've been and you miss 7-8 free throws.
Yeah, you very rarely after a game. During a game, I am open and free to talk about these calls were missed. After a game, I'm not a blame the refs guy unless there's one specific, like they were awful, like down the stretch or like it impacted multiple things. I did not think that crew had a good night.
I think that largely the Big 12 has allowed quite a bit of play. I don't feel like the emphasis being on the blocking versus a charge call has been what it was hyped up to be.
Oh, I do.
Do you?
Aaron, how many times have you thought a bad charge call happened this year? I don't remember any. Where you got the guy running down the floor, like doing this. I don't recall any. And that means that change has worked 1,000% because those were momentum changing, like, guy slides in and grabs his nuts from 8 feet away from the play. The guy had no impact on the play. He wasn't gonna stop the drive. He wasn't gonna block the shot. He just slides under the guy and falls down, and you get a charge call. You don't get the points. You lose possession. You change momentum. That is not happening this year at all. So I think the charge call has worked. And because you're not noticing it, tells me that it's worked. We're not complaining about block charge. Like, what was one of the most common words in our lexicon in sports media before this year? Charbage, meaning garbage charge call.
I've never heard that word in my entire life.
Garbage. We used it constantly in the sports media. Garbage. Bad, terrible. All the official wanted to do was like dance down the floor and go, we're not seeing it. The rule worked.
I don't know. I only say that because we don't know what the Big 12 was last year before they instilled this rule.
Everybody was infected by the officials getting their,
getting their charge on.
Yeah, getting their, That's why, remember, we joked around last year, like they needed to change the block from this to the suck it.
I think this is. Oh, Tonk.
They've just dealt with illness like this week, Tonk. They're not shooting well right now. But like Wes said tonight, I agree with them. It's the point I made after the Kansas game. This team doesn't have to be a great three-point shooting team. They just need to be like a 31% three-point shooting team instead of a 22% three-point shooting team. If they just get to below average, then they'll be okay. If they continue to be, my God, this is bad, it's gonna be a struggle.
Even with the free throws, when you're closer to 70% than you are to 60%, that's an improvement. We'll take that.
Right.
That's
right.
Much better.
They did hit them today after they missed the 2 1-on-1s. They did hit them down the stretch that allowed, made sure to keep UCF at bay. Jeff, we don't do politics. Come on. Keep that shit out of here. It's not the place for it. Anyhow. What else you want to get to? Anything?
I'm
about to fall asleep, so. Aziz,
I think
8 points, 7 rebounds in 27 minutes. That'll, with Vic, that probably looks better from your center position. Jamil's got to play better, man. He's got to play better. He's got to take more advantage of his opportunity.
This team's the second half team.
Sure. But guess what? In this league, don't keep getting down by 12 at halftime. Let's not do that.
No, it was their biggest comeback of the season, eclipsing the prior 11 that they had against TCU.
Yeah.
But
only 12 turnovers today, so a decent number. That's about like 11, 10, 11, 12 is right in the area you want to be. Yeah, Kevin, like 28.3% from 3 in Big 12 play. If they're like 32, 33%, I'm okay.
Their home numbers were boosting that number though, and today did not help that number at 21.
Yeah. The good news is, like you said, Aaron, this is one of the few times I agree with you on the 3-point conversation. They didn't take them. They took the open ones. They took the ones that were in rhythm that you have to take. There are some 3-point shots you have to take.
Yeah,
and they took those.
They took 5 in the second half.
Right. That's usually like by the under 8 or by the under 12, like 8 minutes into a half, they've usually taken 5 threes.
And they still only hit one of those 5.
At the end. But that was a big one. To go from up 4 to up 7. That was a massive
But
shot from
at
Dan.
this point, Dan's your best 3-point shooter on the team without argument. It's stupid.
The pass from Day to Dan for the dunk was elite because the window for that was like this. And the fact that Day even saw him, Dan was all the way on the wide left wing. There were 4 or 5 bodies between Day and Dan. And for Day to whip that thing right to Dan for the dunk. And then on the next possession, he hit the 3 to push it from 2 to 4 to 7 it might not be the best pass of the year, but it might be my favorite pass of the year because it was aggressive and it provided a huge spark that ultimately resulted in a win.
Assist numbers have been way up in conference play. Tonight they finished with 15 assists on 24 made field goals, and that's impressive compared to where they were out of conference.
And they had 5 at halftime, and CMOS had 4 of those. So. Another important stat for you, Aaron. You want to know how you win games like that by 11 points? Cincinnati made 6 of their last 6 field goals, and UCF made 1 of their last 11.
Well, I mean,
that's what if you know me, what I've talked about for the 17 years that I've been doing this, the one thing that I've always loved about UC basketball is when it got to 5 minutes left in the game, they turned it up on defense and they locked you down. And they did that to UCF tonight. And that's how you pull away. And you're not sweating bullets the entire final minute as the teams go back and forth. And then you miss a free throw. And that missed free throw means they cut a 4-point game to 1 because they hit a 3. And now you're in deep shit trying to hold on for your life to the buzzer.
Still 12 of 24 on layups, though, because why not?
If you expect this to be a team good at layups, it's the free throw argument and the 3-point argument, right? If you're expecting them to be good at these things right now,
no, because layups are not shots. You can be a not good shooting team, but still make layups. They're layups, Chad.
The type of the hard part about that, Aaron. Just let me. I agree with you, but the hard part about that is we don't know what the stat broadcast person is considering a layup. 1 and 2, if you drive into a 7-footer and your shot gets spanked off the backboard, that's considered a layup. But guess what? You had 0 chance to make that shot. You made a terrible decision. Bang, volleyball.
Well, then you deserve to have the missed layup if you made that terrible decision. Sure. That's on you.
I'm not disagreeing with you there. But look, I don't expect this team to hit 80% of their layups. I don't expect them to hit 80% of their free throws. And I don't expect them to hit 40% of their threes. That's just where we're at right now. And a lot of people would probably do well for their mental well-being to go into a game with that viewpoint of not expecting something that's not going to happen. And then if it does, you're like, hell yeah. Like free throws at Kansas, right? Man. It's the only reason they didn't get blown out in the second half is because they shot 88% or whatever from the free throw line.
Yep.
Oh. All right. I don't have a whole lot else. Do you?
No, but there should be plenty to talk about tomorrow as another crazy day. And now there's cheating allegations coming out in this conference. Good Lord. Oh, by the way, Texas is still the softest team in the entire conference, making kids take their shirts off because horns down. What are we doing here?
I'm gonna say this now. The thing I might love in this conference more than anything that doesn't involve UC is Farmageddon. Iowa State and Kansas State fans
They're nuts.
hate each other.
They hate each other.
Hate each other. And that is not something I really like. I heard of Farmageddon. Like, I've heard that term
Yeah, but
thrown
you didn't
around.
put any thought into it.
I just was never around. Did you see the John Kurtz, who's our friend from Kansas State?
Yeah.
Did you see what he said today?
Nah,
About
I haven't seen it.
he basically put up a thing that was like, Iowa State Twitter is like Cyclone Larry is LeBron, and the rest of Iowa State Twitter are the Cavs, like Matthew Dellavedova.
Yeah.
I saw it. I think I was at the game when I saw it pop up, and I literally, like, my cheeks hurt from laughing. And Cyclone Larry is LeBron, and the rest of Iowa State Twitter is the hapless Cavs.
At this point, I'm just hoping that every team Texas plays the rest of the season, the rest of the year, their last year in the Big 12, just everyone should always be wearing horns down shirts that they made in their
every road game they
living
go
room.
to.
There
No,
should be horn. Just start chanting horns down, horn down.
If they're going to be that much of a bitch about it,
It's so
rub
stupid.
it in. Yeah, I'm with you.
No one's cussing at you. They're not like,
No.
What are we doing? And then the apologies from the coaches are just as bad. Get out of here. This is not who we are. This is not what we stand for. We are BYU. Get out of here. Come on.
Whenever they win,
own it.
Whenever they win, they're all like this to student sections, to like anybody that'll fucking listen. They're horns
if they're
up.
not grabbing their nuts.
Grabbing their nuts, yeah, in front of your bench. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna do this at every turn, you can't be surprised. People do this. Unreal. Lucas says it was BYU administrators who made them take it off, not Texas. Mark Pope looks soft. Yeah, you're soft. If your students wear horn down, you know what? You know what I want to see? I want to see a coach on his lapel, like where the Bearcat Journal logo is, horns down.
You think the Texas Sid didn't have a conversation with BYU admin to tell them to take that off? Come on. That 1,000% happened.
This is bothering the coaching staff and the players. They've lost rest.
Our travel party is really, really bothered by those horns down t-shirts.
PTSD's kicked in. They're wondering where their animals are for them to pet.
Oh man. I wish they were going to be around longer. We would make a fortune selling BCJ horns down t-shirts from 513 shirts.
Every student section should just be chanting horns down the whole game.
Yeah. I'm with you. Well, Aaron, I will tell you this. These are a lot more fun after a win. We'll see you tomorrow night. We'll recap everything that happened today. BBP on Monday. And the Bearcats back in action in Morgantown Wednesday at 7. Another need to win. I won't say must win, but another need to win. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. You guys are the best. And we'll see you next time. That's the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken. Right here on BearcatJournal.com. Horns down.